The afternoon energy crash. The carbohydrate craving that arrives predictably after lunch. The blood glucose number that was fine 5 years ago and now trends slightly higher at every annual checkup. These experiences are common enough in adults over 40 that most people have normalized them, accepted them as the cost of aging. But they have a specific biological explanation, and Harvard metabolic researchers have identified a primary driver that most blood sugar supplements never target: GLUT-4 receptor overload and desensitization. GLUT-4 receptors are protein channels embedded in cell membranes that physically transport glucose molecules from the bloodstream into cells, where they're converted to energy. In a well-functioning metabolic system, insulin signals these receptors to move to the cell surface and open. Glucose enters the cell, blood sugar drops, and energy production resumes. The problem develops through repeated exposure to high glucose loads over years and decades. The receptors become desensitized, they respond more weakly to insulin signal, they transport glucose less efficiently, and glucose accumulates in the bloodstream instead of entering cells. The energy crash follows not because you ate too much, but because the glucose from what you ate isn't being efficiently transported to the cells that need it. You have blood glucose circulating but cells can't access it. This receptor-level desensitization is a different mechanism from insulin resistance at the pancreatic level, and it requires a different approach. Most blood sugar supplements address chromium deficiency, cinnamon for insulin mimicry, or general antioxidant support. Gluco6 leads with Sukre, a clinically studied compound specifically researched for GLUT-4 receptor support and reactivation. This is the mechanism that distinguishes the formula from competitors. Sukre's research shows effects on GLUT-4 protein expression and translocation, the molecular process by which receptors move to the cell surface in response to insulin. Supporting this primary mechanism, Gymnema sylvestre provides dual complementary action. The Gymnema acids coat glucose receptors in the small intestine, slowing glucose absorption before it even enters the bloodstream, and separately affect sweet taste receptors in a way that reduces carbohydrate cravings neurologically. This is the ingredient with the longest traditional use history in blood sugar support. Ayurvedic practice has called Gymnema Gurmur the sugar destroyer for centuries, and modern pharmacology confirms why. Chromium at a therapeutically meaningful dose provides insulin cofactor support. Chromium is required for insulin receptor binding, and deficiency directly impairs glucose disposal. Cinnamon bark provides MHCP methylhydroxycone polymer, which has published research on insulin mimetic activity at cellular receptors. And 2 additional compounds complete the 6-ingredient formula. 6 ingredients. Each one targeting a specific, identified mechanism in blood sugar regulation. Not a kitchen sink formula with 30 compounds at homeopathic doses. A focused formula with researched compounds at meaningful doses where each ingredient has a clear role and the synergies are genuine. According to verified customer feedback, users report reduced energy crashes and more stable energy throughout the day within 2 weeks. This reflects the GLUT-4 and glucose absorption improvements responding quickly. More measurable blood glucose improvements at fasting and post-meal appear at 4 to 6 weeks of consistent use. The distinction between what happens at 2 weeks versus 6 weeks is important. The early changes are symptom relief, the later changes are metabolic restoration. The most critical safety note: anyone on metformin, insulin, sulfonylureas, or any other diabetes medication must consult their physician before using Gluco6. The combination of blood sugar lowering medication with a formula specifically targeting glucose disposal mechanisms can cause dangerous hypoglycemia. This is not a theoretical concern, it's a real risk that requires medical guidance. This is non-negotiable. Full ingredient analysis including GLUT-4 research, Sukre clinical data explaining exactly how the mechanism works, complaint investigation, current pricing, and official website in the description. Like, comment, subscribe.